Hello, 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 hello. So, today I'm going to be getting started on the third in the series of owlbear paintings I've been doing. I hope to do 7 of them, so one for each kind of bear. So this is the snowy owl and polar bear one, which is going to be a little difficult because it's a lot of white. So I'm going to do a nighttime. Seems like we might be having connection issues. I hope it's okay. The black bear and the great gray owl are both. You don't think this unless you look at them a lot or are around them. They're kind of dorky as a creature. They look kind of dopey. This is not a bad thing, but it is a true thing. Actually might take. I'm gonna test this on a bit of paper before I put it on, but I might take a little bit of dilute brown to sort of add that shadow. And I'm grabbing my orangey brown as opposed to my purpley brown, because that's an important difference. What color is this? Coffee brown. What's the other one? Nut brown. Apparently coffee brown is oranger than nut brown, and I don't think that's true. In real life, that seems subjective, if not completely false, but alright. There we go, that's better. So it's gonna look a little bit like a brown bear from a start, but I'm going to do some layering and do some pulling back of the pigment to hopefully give it the right look. Polar bears look a lot more sort of ethereal than brown bears if you look at them, because you can see through the fur. So brown bears look very solid, and polar bears sort of almost have a glow to them that you don't see in a lot of other species because of that literally see-through hair pieces or fur. Hang on. I've just discovered a question that I don't have an answer to. Is that fur or guard hair? Because I know that they have like a layered double coat, but the fur that you see on them, I'm not sure which kind it is. Presumably, mostly what you see is the guard hair if it is a double coat. Which sort of makes sense, because that's that really stiff outer shell. Fun fact, that is what humans have. We've pretty much lost our fur, but we still have that guard hair, which is why human hair looks so much sort of thicker. Like physically, a strand of human hair is thicker than like dog fur, because we don't have that undercoat fur, we just have that thick waterproofing. But yeah, because of that sort of see-through element to it, it sort of reflects more light, which makes them look very eerie. But that's kind of what I want, because it's not really the focus of the image. And also, I'm going to go back over it and sort of strengthen it a little bit more and add, like there, add some more variation in the tone. And then, like I said, I want to go over with a little bit of green to sort of bring more color into the equation. So there's going to be sort of a big rock up here. Listen to that hound dog howl. And I would really like to know what the connection problem is. Hmm. Add these little ridges to the rocks. Oh, different dog in my room now. Hello. It's the smaller one. This is our least well-behaved dog, but she seems to be being pretty good right now. And sort of a little rock element here. This is all sort of completely improvised. I'm just where I think they would look good. Although I guess there is a little bit of a composition element to it, with kind of drawing the eye, and also sort of blacking out areas, so that the focus isn't on the front, like the foreground, so it kind of draws the eye up to the figure. Hey. I will kick you out. There we go. I kind of want to flatten this out so it has sort of a perspective to it. Not too much because it's kind of still up front, but just a little. And then running out of pigment again. Pick up some more. Yep. Now I have big plans for what I want to do. I'm gonna keep doing the art stuff on stream and on video because I enjoy it, but sort of want to add more sort of science education to my online presence. Because I've gotten to do some of that like in person now with teaching. And I do not want to be a science teacher, but I would not mind being a science educator with like giving talks. Because I have found that a lot of fun. And I really enjoy that the chaperones seem equally interested as the kids, which is great. That's the that's the ideal. Let's get some wonder back in these people's lives. Come on. Look at a fish. It was the big showstopper thing of that sort of presentation was the lampreys, because we had preserved specimens of both the sea lamprey and one of the river lampreys. And those are fun because they are very creepy to most people. I think they're adorable, but I have non-standard tastes. But they have this round disc mouth with teeth, and this is a sea lamprey specifically. They will bite into the side of fish and suck the blood, which is not pleasant, and people don't like them, which is an okay thing because they are invasive to the Great Lakes, but also not a good thing because there is the brook lamprey, which does not do this. It's not a parasite, unlike the other one. They live in rivers, and in their larval form, they're really important filter feeders. And then in their adult form, they don't eat. Like, they lose their mouth. They just reproduce and die, which is a little unfortunate for them. But it also means that they are not a parasite, so it's a little bit easier to get people's sympathy for them. And with their importance as a filter feeder, we really need to make sure those aren't going extinct. And unfortunately, they're kind of in danger. But the nice thing with that also is, well, not nice, I guess, per se, because of that sort of endangered status, is that they are culturally significant to a lot of Native American peoples. Which makes sense, because it's a really weird fish, and they are important to the ecosystem. But that's sort of with the importance of preserving them. And it's good because it means that they get a lot more attention to their preservation, because all of these native cultures are really big on making sure we don't lose them. But also, it's unfortunate that they are in as much danger as they are with how significant they are to people in the area. And a lot of people don't know they exist or assume that they're parasites, but they aren't. So that's the lamprey spiel, which most people don't know about, but it's a neat fish. I like them. I don't really have a problem with the parasitic ones either, other than the fact that they are invasive. They're pretty nice. I mean, they're just doing their job in the ecosystem. It's sort of like mosquitoes. I'm like, I don't want them on me. But theoretically, they're important and I have no problem with them. Because with mosquitoes, what a lot of people miss is that the function of a mosquito is to recycle. Because what you kind of get is as you go up the food chain, it doesn't go back down until the thing dies and decomposes. And mosquitoes take the blood out of the things sort of higher up on the food chain, and then the mosquitoes get eaten by things lower down, so it helps things recycle back down quickly. And unfortunately, I am higher up in the food chain, so... Dog. What is going on? No. You're fine. You're very cute, and you're fine. Yeah, this is the main problem, because I am living with other people and also dogs. The times when I have to, like, film and stream are also the times when I have to be watching the dogs. No. There is nothing, and you are fine. Why are you complaining about a window? There is nothing outside. I looked. Yep. So we're just kind of building up the tundra here. And I'm liking, upon not looking at it and then looking back at it, which is what you need to do anytime you're doing art, I am liking the look of the bear. Because that is not the final piece, that is just the underlayer. And it's almost a little iridescent, which is kind of what I was aiming for on it. So then, it is time. Chalk stick. Paintbrush. Water. This is my my white ink. I'm actually gonna mix it a little bit with my gray. These are advanced techniques, which is to say I've never done this before. There we go. That's something. pick up a little bit of the lighter. What we're aiming for here is to kind of show sort of the shadow, but I want to keep the color present. Dog, I will kick you out of this room. Lie down. Good girl. See, the other dog is being perfectly good. But she's a retired service dog, so that's... that's expected. Yeah, you're a good girl. Yeah. And my sister is a veterinary technician and animal trainer. Which is how we got the big girl. She is an ex-service dog turned pet who's really good at calming people down. She's a good girl. Yeah. Alright, so I'm just applying sort of some white, especially on these highlight areas. And where is my yellow ink? There it is. Gonna mix in a little bit of this yellow. And it's just a lot of layering here, especially to try to get that sort of glow. With trying to... It's a really difficult thing with putting a white animal in shadow in an art piece. Without having it, while still keeping it looking sort of that distinctive. If that made any sense at all. Because you can kind of lose the appearance of that sort of white iridescent fur when you put shadow on it. So what I'm doing is I am layering a lot of dark and light to sort of give it that depth. And I hope that that is coming through a little bit. So, clean off the brush. Now I'm taking, there's actually no ink on the brush right now, because I'm just blending in short strokes to give it sort of a fur texture. Well, blending it a little bit, but keeping enough variation that it sort of shows up. Okay, that's not bad. I do think I need to add a little bit more white on top, because then we're going to move up into the owl head. But I'm going to let that dry in the meantime. So then, I'm going to grab a little bit more of the chalk. Well, it's always interesting working with the chalk because it is so sort of finicky. With how it goes on, because it's extremely soluble. So it dissolves in the water pretty well, but also absorbs a lot of it. Sort of unique as a pigment because of that. Sort of adding white to the top and the sides where the light would be hitting it, which conveniently goes over that owl head, which I'm gonna have to start on pretty soon here. Oh, hang on. Alright, I'm gonna have to pause for a minute because my computer is low on battery and I forgot to plug it in before we started. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, the computer is plugged in. It is done. Yeah, this one's going to take a lot more work, I think, than the previous bears. Just for the sort of complicated coloring. Okay, that is fairly dry at this point. So, going to grab a smaller brush and a little bit of sort of a bluish green. Let's start adding that on. The tundra is an interesting thing to portray because it is very barren looking, but actually contains a lot of life. Because the reason why it looks so empty is because sort of larger forms of life have a lot of trouble because of sort of surface area to volume and staying the right temperature and not being damaged by the wind. But low-lying mosses and lichens do much better. So you end up with a lot of these very seasonal and very low-lying creatures and plants. So it looks very empty. But it is not necessarily. And the other thing is, this is an Arctic tundra. So, like a tundra on a mountain will have a lot different sort of composition due to it being an elevation-based tundra as opposed to a sort of latitude. And then there's the Antarctic tundra, which has nothing because it's brand new. As that glacier, the Antarctic ice sheet is moving back, it's exposing all of this rock, which it's sort of dredging up. But because of that, we have all of this brand new material that has no dirt on it. And having no dirt on it means that not a lot of things grow, which is a great opportunity to study how dirt develops, because we have all of this lichen that is slowly building a topsoil. But it's sort of a boring tundra. It's just lichen. There's just rocks and a little bit of lichen. I feel weird calling lichen boring because it's a very interesting thing. That's a mix of a fungus and a bacteria that are living together to make a lichen. Sort of stretching vertically as I go up here. Let's add a little low-lying plant here. A lot of people also don't know that there's ferns in the tundra, because you think of that as being a tropical thing, but it's just, again, that sort of low-lying plant form does really well. So you get these sort of fern plants. Also because a lot of places that are tundra used to not be tundra. Same thing with peat bogs. A lot of people write off the higher latitudes or the like really lower latitudes as just being cold and empty. But you're forgetting about peat bogs. There's swamps up there. Canada has swamps. And that's really weird, but it does. That's how we get all the really well-preserved bodies. A lot of people, I have noticed, by no fault of their own, don't know about a lot of the most interesting biomes. I had to be going to college for biology to find out about the canebrakes, which are American bamboo forests. And there isn't a lot of it left, because a lot of it got cut down. But America has bamboo. And you can read the old accounts of what the really big canebrakes used to be like before everything. And they're describing like the width and height of a telephone pole. Bamboo. It's like, oh my god. What? We have that here? And yes, but no. Now, I've always wanted to study the canebrakes. Since I found out about them, at least, because what an amazing and unique biome. I would love to get some, like, on-the-ground work done over there. And I am in entirely the wrong part of America for that, because they're down south, but... you know. What you gonna do? But I live up by the, where we would have peat bogs, so I'm happy. Also, freshwater ecosystems. I'm a big fan of them. And it's not just because I spent the last 7 months studying fish. I really want to study indicator species as my sort of focus. But I don't know how feasible that is. I have to do a lot more research on it. But, like, the EPT index, there's a very accurate way to tell the health of a body of water just by what insects live in it. Like, you can evaluate how much, like, dissolved oxygen, how much sort of organic pollution, all of that, just by, like, are there dragonflies here? Which saves time and money, and also is really good for educating people about science. Because you notice that the science that people don't trust is the science that people can't see with their eyes. I'm fascinated by the fact that germ theory has gotten to the point it has, considering. But with, like, the fears of, like, dissolved things in the water and all of that, I think teaching people about how that can be detected just visually and just by what's around would be really good for building trust. And also letting people do their own surveys of their own bodies of water so that we don't have to keep asking permission to go on people's properties to look at their lake. Because the property owners also don't want their lake to be polluted. So if we teach them how to check if their lake is polluted, then they can do that. And it would be very nice if that didn't require that very expensive equipment that we use for a lot of the direct testing. So indirect testing methods, like looking at fish and invertebrates, is a really good way to cut back on testing costs. Which helps, again, promote to the people who actually own and work the land, which is what we need. There's a lot to be said on the disconnect between the people doing the research and the people taking care of the places that are being researched. And I would like to be a part of the solution if I can. And sometimes having a guy who's holding a dead fish is enough to make people interested in what the guy is talking about, so. Science education. Give talks while holding a dead fish. That way you can show people the specifics on the fish. About the differences between, oh god, this is humiliating. I've forgotten the English word. His Latin name is Amia calva. That's not helpful to anyone. Bowfin. The bowfin. Which is native to where I'm at, and a very interesting fish. And a very important fish. And the snakehead, which looks very similar, and is opposite on all counts. It's not an important fish, it's not a good fish. At least not around here. And you need to know the difference, so that if you're fishing, you can know what to catch and what to avoid. I'm also a strong contingent of hunt invasive species. honestly, just hunting in general is a pretty good thing for the environment as long as you follow the regulations. And a lot of people get kind of upset about that because of this sort of very clean take on what ecology is and what living in harmony with nature is. It's like, no, humans are a large predator. The humans need to be eating things. Both to keep the humans alive and to keep the things that they are eating alive, which seems counterintuitive, but we need predators in the ecosystem, and we are removing predators from the ecosystem rapidly. And one of the major problems that people kind of overlook is that they're like, okay, so bring wolves back. The wolves can do the hunting. And the thing is, we can't bring wolves back without doing hunting. The people need to be doing hunting too, because right now there aren't enough wolves to do the hunting. Alright, I'm kind of adding some feather texture here, as well as continuing with the fur. I'm sort of feathering a little bit. Especially up by the head. And then the head gets that big disc. Owls are so strange, especially in sort of the shape of the head. Their ears are not where you think their ears are, because they are lopsided. One of their ears is much higher up on their face than the other, so that they can hear in more dimensions. Because, like, a human can tell what direction a sound is coming from based off of when it reaches the ears. And an owl can do that in up and down also, because their ears are lopsided in that dimension. Which is very strange, I will say. It's very odd. But pretty neat. So if you look at their skull, they look absolutely ridiculous because they have that big disc and then those little ear holes, which are not where you think they are. And the function of that is entirely so that they know where sound is. Because that big disc is also just to funnel sound directly into the ear holes. They're a very ridiculous creature. Hang on, there's been a small problem. I spilled a little bit of ink and I have to clean it up so that it doesn't get everywhere. Good news, pipette. And also that is why I am doing this on a silicone desk cover. Because I can just wipe it off. There we go. Hang on. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. You understand. No, the pipette works great for this, actually. Yep. Also, a little behind the scenes thing that I'm very pleased with. I have rigged up OBS, which is what I use for streaming, so that it records the stream and it also records just the input from the camera. My hands are green now, but it's okay. But just the camera, so that I can post the video without the overlay on YouTube. Very handy, I think. There we go. I'm just going to be green. This has happened before, and for some reason it's always the green ink. I always end up green. Whoops. Nah, it's fine. Alright, so continuing. Alright, so I was going to grab a little bit of black, a tiny bit of black. It's a very strong ink. Tiny bit of black ink. So we are coming up on like, oh wow, we actually are at an hour. Gotta keep an eye on the time. And also on my phone, because people are going to text me before they get home, is the agreement. I'm going to take a little bit of black and some more of the blue. With the intention of really getting a darker tone. Mix the inks. There we go. Okay. Let's check that. I don't think people are home dogs. Hang on, but all of the dogs seem excited, so now I have to check. No, they are not. We are fine. There we go. And then I'm just going to add that as sort of a shadow color. There's a little bit of green in it, both just from a little bit of a like leftover green, and also, like I said, this black color is a little bit green undertoned. So I'm just putting that on, sort of creating these sort of long shadows around the rocks and the plants. All of this is going to need a couple more layers, but let's just add this in now. Yes, I apologize for the dramatic beasts if you can hear them. I love working with the inks, but they're so messy. I have to clean everything so well. Also because they reactivate with water, so if I don't clean all of it off, if I try to reuse my tools, it will re-ink. Kind of adding sort of vignette is the word that comes to mind on the shadows. I don't know if that's correct, but that's what I'm going with. Adds a little bit more drama to the scene, at least. Yeah, I can try not to get it on my hands. It doesn't work. It always ends up on my hands. Okay, how is that? Just doing some sort of experimental color mixing here. That's not bad. Just for a little bit of feathering and also a little bit of just shadow. The tip of this is just the right shape to add that sort of feather. Pick up some of this. Yeah, it's sort of one of those things. I'm not sure if this is turning out, but it's ink, so if it's not turning out, just keep going. Keep adding more things. It is a very dramatic composition. Kind of add some more contrasting white. There we go. Kind of using the texture of the paper here to sweep out this white so that it's a little bit less harsh. Dog. No. Good girl. No, you guys are always perfectly good when I'm not doing something. Or am I just not allowed to be doing something? Is that it? I'm not allowed to work. Taking a creature-mandated vacation. So that the creatures don't get upset with me. It's always a learning experience with these ones. Keep thinking like, oh, I should have done that differently at the earlier stage, but I didn't. And that's okay. Yeah, I try not to be too much of a perfectionist when I'm painting, but also it's kind of hard to be a perfectionist with painting. Like, it's always not going to look perfect because it's extremely subjective. And it's probably going to look nothing like what I imagined when I was first sort of thinking of the idea. Which is a good thing, I think. I'm like, I can't accurately recreate what I'm seeing in my head. But that's, I think, more about creativity. the not accurately recreating. That's how it works. Let's come back in and add a little bit more layer. Like, if I just create what I'm imagining perfectly, then there's no process to it. And the process is the fun part for me. Sort of like problem solving. You know, keep running into reasons why the idea won't work, and then having to decide what the next thing is. I am not thinking ahead when I am doing these. And I don't know if people can tell that. There's not too much forethought. Or insight being applied. Which is nice. It's a good break from having to do forethought and insight. Very dramatic animal. Yeah, you. Why are you looking at me? What? There's a very cute orange hound here. And they will get all of the attentions when I'm done streaming. I think the lighting here has changed a little bit from what I was intending originally, but that's fine, and also possibly more interesting than what I was imagining. In terms of creating a compelling composition. And I might be just about gonna wrap up here, because I have frankly run out of paintbrushes that don't have ink on them. And also, it has been an hour 16 minutes. Alright. So, this is where we're at right now. I'm gonna do like like 1 or 2 to 3 more streams of just working on this piece. But thank you for watching. My socials are on the screen now. The edited version of this will go up once I have done the rest of the painting. I'm gonna kind of do a speed paint, and I'm thinking about turning some of them into sort of a commentary about, not quite a tutorial, because yeah. I'm not putting enough thought into these to do a tutorial, I don't think. But do sort of a commentary about what I'm doing with the ink and why for all of these. So that should go up at some point here. And I have a lot of plans. A lot of big plans. Yeah, so thank you for stopping by. I am gonna go ahead and see you guys later.